Next thing I wrote, so after that scene, as if those mod riding squares can beat up anything.
Well, it's not mod riding. You keep saying mod riding. It's scooters.
What's mods then?
The mods is short for modernist.
Oh, I thought it was like mod. Oh. So
the rockers weren't riding rockers, were they?
So I can call them scooters.
Yes.
I just didn't want to say the wrong. I thought.
No. So the mods rode scooters.
Right. Okay. All
yeah.
Right.
And the rockers rode.
Was it modernists?
That was what mod is short for. Modernist.
I thought modifications were the fucking.
No. Oh, I can see where you'd get that, but no. So mod was short for modernist. The reason they were called the mods is because
that was their.
Oh, they were
away from the family structure, like being independent and stuff like that.
So if you say the mods came out in the early 60s, mid 60s, this is the first generation from the war years.
I was going to say
finished in 45.
I was going to bring up,
and then those people were having kids, and the mods were the first people that had money
and
weren't going to war and weren't getting what do they call it? Where you have to go and fight, or you have to serve some sort of conscription. Yeah. So they were the first people that managed to avoid that. Therefore, all of a sudden, they had cash. Like, he had a reasonable job. His mate had good jobs. One was on the bins. One was dismantling car at the scrapyard. Always big money.
Yeah.
And they were able to buy nice clothes, whereas people just wore clothes before that to keep warm.
100%.
Whereas they were like, oh, fashion. And the fashion was
3 buttons.
3, so buying your own suit. My dad, they used to basically, they would pay one suit off every week, and then when you paid it off, you got your suit. So you go in and pay it off every week out your wages, and then as soon as you paid your suit off, you get measured for a new one and start again.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you notice, he wore his new suit down at Brighton all the time.
All the time,
yeah. But they were very much into. So the music was a lot of American sort of soul music. Was the mods, the American dress, the suits was very Italian. The scooters were Italian. So it was nothing was from the UK sort of thing. It was all the first time they'd taken stuff from elsewhere in the world. So their shoes, all of that sort of stuff. And I never realised years ago, because I used to think, well, the mods dress brilliantly. Like they were like peacocks of their day, strutting around. They had the best haircuts. They wore the nicest suits and the clothes, and they danced well, and they had the prettiest girls. And then you were like, why the scooters? Scooters were cheap. So the scooters were cheap, which meant they could all afford them, and it meant they had transport they could get, because you couldn't afford a car.
Yeah, exactly.
But everyone, but we can't just have a scooter. The scooters were Italian, Lambretta and Vespa. And everyone could then afford them, save up. But then you had to make them a bit different, because you're peacocks and you dress. So that's where all the mirrors and the lights came from, to make them different, and the different seat covers and all that, because you had to stand out. You were a modernist.
It had to be your,
You were
individualized as well.
Yeah, and if you were the best dressed, and you had the best scooter, and you were the best dancer, and you had the best looking bird on your arm, you were a face. And if you were the top one, you were the ace face.
I am one of the faces.
I am one of the faces. So that was what it was all about. And then I could never get my head around why they wore those big parkas, the big green coats. Because they are the most unattractive piece of clothing ever. And I own one. But they are the most unattractive piece of clothing ever. But all the rest was so stylish, and I could never understand. And then I read somewhere that they're ex-army coats.
Oh, right.
And so they're warm.
And they keep your suit clean.
They keep all your good stuff clean while you're riding the scooters.
Okay. Yeah, that's
and they kept all your trousers and everything clean. And if you had to stop because you're broken down, as Italian scooters always do,
blanket.
You just lay that down, and you'd put your tools on it, and you'd work on it, and then you could kneel on it, and then get back up and get going again. I never understood that's what the parkas come from.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And this is where I wrote again, how old is he? Because I'm like, these guys are literally beating up people, and then I'm like, how old are these kids meant
to get back to your point about the mods were actually quite. They won as many as they lost. They were actually just big, and that's the thing. You see, that whole thing where the rockers were the leather, and they used to come down and try and fight, and everyone fought. But those mods were quite nasty. and they had the numbers, and they were like, well, we're not going to be like intimidated by.
Fair enough. Yeah, so
You can't judge a book by its cover, because they used to, there's
Well,
that bit where he says, hard to tell which one he used, the girl, who's the boy, just before Spider gets the good eye at him. I've read books with mods, and they were like, yeah, they used to say that, but then when we turn up en masse, they would like give him a good run for the money. And I'm sure we'll talk about the fight on the beach.
Oh, we'll talk about that fight, 100%.
Go on.
The next note I have, I'm laughing what I'm going. He even masturbates like a virgin dweeb. He's like laying on his hands, like rubbing himself and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I ain't got much to say about that bit. Well, I can't say anything about that.
And then this is when I started making, so shit kid, he's not sympathetic, no redeeming qualities whatsoever. So I'm pretty sure this is when his dad? No, I think I just wrote that for hell of it. Next one, his boss in the mailroom is a proper lad boss. He's like, go on, take a day off, or take early leave, whatever it is. And he's like, that's nothing to do with the movie or him. I just like that guy as a character. He's like, yeah, mate, we're fucking in the mailroom, no dramas. It wasn't a big thing. I'm saying that's a good boss. Well done.
Yeah, I think it was the start of the bank holiday weekend.
Something like that. Yeah. He's like, go on,
yeah, he's give them their pay. And
the next one I have, the dad commenting when he's watching The Bound on the TV.
Yeah.
That was so real.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's so real. You're just trying to enjoy it, and there's some, okay.
And as you now know, the band on the TV with The Who.
The Who, yeah.
And he's sitting there, and he's drumming and turning it up and up and up, trying to drown his dad out.
Yep.
It's just a load of noise.
Yeah, this is crap, yeah.
Yeah.
What I what are my words doing today?
I don't know. Have you had a...
Yes.
Yeah.
The same, if you're watching this podcast, the same feeling you get when someone tries
Equivalent.
The same feeling you get when someone goes, here, watch this 5-minute video real quick. That's what this scene feels like. It's like someone in the background, you're like, this is so awkward, and the dad says, this is crap, and you're like, okay, that's your opinion, let me watch this thing, yeah.
In my wet jeans.
In his wet jeans.
Which is a thing, they did that.
I didn't know that. That makes sense, though. I was like, oh, that's actually
a
good thing. So that was a fucking hard scene to watch just because it was so real.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Next thing I have, which I'm a bit upset with myself. So this is when they go down to Brighton now, I think.
Yeah.
So they're in Brighton.
For the bank holiday weekend.
And the guy rocks up. The guy with the grey jumpsuit and 500 lights on his mod. So when Sting rocks up.
You know Sting.
Of course I know Sting, yeah.
I'm surprised.
When Sting rocks up, because I was even like, is that fucking Sting?
Did you pick it straight away, did you?
Yeah.
Did you really?
I don't know why I know what it looks like, but yeah, I was like, that fucking Sting?
All right. Well, very impressed, because I had a whole thing about Sting. I didn't really, but I wanted to, I was like, Sting, The Police. You know who's in the band The Police?
Yep.
Okay. But you recognise him straight away? All right, so...
Because I looked at the cover and I was like...
Yeah. When he rocks up in Brighton as the Ace Face...
Is that what his name in the film is?
They call him the Ace, don't they? Because he's dressed the best, his hair's the best, he dances
the Ace
the best.
Face was like a title.
His scooter's the best. Yeah, so
right,
even Jimmy went, because they go, wow, look at him. And he goes, oh, he must be the Ace Face.
Right, okay.
And which he is. I mean, look at him when he's dancing in his suit and his coat. He's not wearing a jumpsuit, though. He's wearing a big leather coat, which is weird again, because the mods don't wear leather. But it was his suit underneath. And then he's the best fighter as well, isn't he? He's like just battering everyone, isn't he? He's like, and he gets in the van, he's still cool as you like. Have you got that?
I got that.
In court, I'll pay now if you don't mind.
I got that.
I
got that, brother. Yeah.
And then you think about how much that fine was. It was a massive fine.
Oh, yeah, that's what I had to ask you, actually.
Yeah.
That, again, I like how he came in with his posse as well. And, like, now that you've mentioned the Ace Face, and I was like, okay, that makes more sense. Again, more puzzle pieces fall into play. But I saw that and I was like, this is hilarious.
I can tell you something funny about that scene as well. That if you ever watch it again, watch how Sting rides. That's actually a Vespa. Mm-hmm. Jimmy rides a Lambretta. Sting is riding a Vespa. Apparently, when they all got their roles, He wanted to be called Sting. I think he was just coming into his Sting phase.
Right, I was going to say, so this is when he was sort of
He wasn't
on the scene, but not big.
Well, we'll go back to all of those, but no one called him that. They all called him by his name anyway, and they were all of those lads were given scooters and were taught how to ride scooters. Have you noticed they all ride really well? Like Jimmy in particular rides really well. Watch Sting, because they were all like, Sting can't ride a scooter. And he was really bad at it. And if you then watch that scene, he rolls up really slowly on his scooter. And then when they go, oh, look at him. And then he looks around. And when he rides off again, he's got both feet hovering off the ground as if they're like, which makes sense. And that's the only time you see him on a scooter.
Yeah, you're right. 100%.
You never see him any other time. Anyway, carry on with your notes.
Next notes. This is actually a pretty good one. The part where they are finding a place to sleep in that dark bunker thing, and then they were like, would you make up the mind? And they're like, oh shit, someone's already in here. I actually got a genuine laugh out of that one. That was actually pretty funny. I'm like, oh, okay. I laughed a lot harder than I should have.
And then in the morning, when it's full of rockers, and they're like,
and then What I didn't understand though is what were they doing in there?
Sleeping.
Because one guy, you see like an ass shot there. He's pulling his pants up. I'm like,
no, that's a girl. That's one of the rockers' girlfriends.
Oh.
Well, they see they didn't want to pay for accommodation,
so they
would just sleep anyway.
What do they call it? Rack? No, what do they call it? They kept saying something. We're going to rack for the night, or they had a word for it. I was like, that's funny.
But
that was a good scene. I like that scene.
And then the bloke goes, "Be careful! I've heard there's some mods about," and they're like, "Yeah, we'll meet you in a bit." Yeah, it's clever.
We'll make up your mind. Oh shit, sorry. That was actually pretty good. So the beach scene. So the big fight scene. The first. So this is getting in my head of how much Jimmy's pissed me off at this stage.
Yeah, you don't like Jimmy.
I wrote, I was cheering when the Rockers motorbike gang came and rushed him on the beach.
Were you?
I was like, yeah, get him. Because before that, they were just disrupting
the march.
Yeah, they were just
walked through the march.
Just beautiful little town, and they're like, oh fuck, the modders are coming again and making it like it's just So when the motorbike gang came, I was like, yeah, get them, boys. Show them what a real fight is, and just laid it into them, which was good. And then I wrote, whilst his friends are getting arrested for what they believe in, he's off getting laid for the first time.
Yeah.
That was.
That alleyway is very famous in Brighton. That actual laneway, that little laneway, and people have graffitied it, and there's lots of people who've been and stood in that laneway and had their picture taken in their parkers and all that. It's a bit of a like.
I was going to make a dirty joke there, but I'm not gonna.
You're better than that. Well, not because you use the Thewho gag a lot. Yeah, it's quite famous.
Okay,
that's what a very famous place in Brighton now. That little laneway.
Because of the movie.
Oh, well, that's where he stood there. Look, that laneway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
Because of the movie. Yeah. Well, you know that I'm going to be honest about that scene now. Oh, I don't know how many times I've watched this movie. Dozens. And every time I watch it, I'm like, why would you go back out, Jimmy? Like,
that's what I'm thinking.
You were safe.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, I know that was done and dusted in 2 minutes.
Well,
but surely stay where you are. Wait for it to all die down.
Yeah,
and then... Huh? What did you say?
Nothing. Go on.
Well, go on. What did you say?
I said, be a gentleman.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Be like the in-betweeners as he runs out into a riot. Don't worry, officer, it's on the way down.
I guess, yeah, you're right. Like, why did he?
Why would you? You got yourself a nice little hiding place.
Because if he went out and was like, yeah, kept fighting, yeah,
he was trying to get away.
Yeah, Like, just stay where you are.
Stay where you're well hidden.
Yeah, that's add that to the list of why this guy pisses me off. No survival instincts whatsoever.
Well, yeah.
All right, we'll continue with my list, shall we?
Yeah, go on. We have to go back to that fight as well, though.
We can stay with the fight for a bit longer because everything else seems to be out after the fight. So yeah, what about the fight?
Well, apparently, because obviously to get all these, because obviously I don't know whether this will amaze you. Clearly, wasn't made on a big budget. So the band obviously put all the money into this movie.
Were they really rich?
The band,
yeah,
they would have been pretty well off, yeah. But bankrolling a movie that no one's heard of based on
a
yeah,
be rude,
yeah.
Get one in somewhere.
Based on an album, it's probably a big risk. That's also to say that every actor in it was pretty much a nobody. And my theory on the actors, which we'll go back to, I believe they would have got, and I don't know whether this is true or not, someone probably does, which maybe should be in a documentary somewhere, but they clearly just went to a theatre school, some drama school somewhere, and scooped them all up.
So literally none of, apart from Sting, none of them have been.
Sting wasn't anyone.
Oh, okay, right.
That's pre-Sting.
And he was still requesting people to be.
I think he was.
Can you call me Rocket from now on?
Yeah, I think he was getting to his. I think he had something happening. Maybe
this movie.
But
I like being in a space.
But he wasn't anything. None of them were, and I'll go through how far a lot of them went after this.
Yeah,
but they were nobodies. Okay. All of them were nobodies. So, with that in mind, I don't know where I was going with this story. Where I was going?
Theatre school, bunch of nerds,
bunch of nobodies.
Nobodies.
Yeah. So as in like how much money they would have spent on it. So I think that's where I was going with it. They obviously reached out to scooter clubs and mods and said, we need scooters in all these scenes. We need people to be extras in all these scenes. We need rockers in all these scenes, people who used to be rockers and all their motorbikes. So a lot of them were just nobodies, not even extras or supporting artists. They were nobodies. You know what I mean? They rode in. You can see it as they go pan down, like how people are dressed and all the rest of it. When they were scrapping on the beach, that actually became quite physical. There's a lot. If you watch it as well, and you go, they're proper scrapping because they're not supposed to be throwing. They were supposed to be throwing like potatoes that look like pebbles at each other and that, you know, on the beach.
Yeah.
They actually people start throwing actual stuff. People are rolling around there. They are they're proper scrapping it. Like you could see it. It gets carried away.
Yeah, I was thinking
you can't film that, and that's like a one-take shot. You're not right. Everybody back. Remember where you were, lying on the floor. So it actually became a very, very real fight between
whoever wins gets backstage passes to our next concert.
Yeah,
genius.
Yeah,
but no, like I was thinking now. I was like, this actually. It would be hard to coordinate this scene, so it would have had to be like a...
Well, you think about other movies that have tried to do large-scale disorder like that, almost semi-riots, and it does not look like that.
Yep, that is true. So yeah, the next one I got, Sting paying the £75 fine on the spot.
Yeah.
Again, baller move.
Oh.
I was like, damn, this guy balling out. That was pretty dope. I was like, okay.
So that's $150 fine now, and that was based in the 60s.
I don't even want to do the maths. That sounds like a life-changing amount of money.
It would be a massive amount of money. Because if you think about it, do you remember when he's buying the pills? Do you understand all that bit as well?
It was like $5 and he had a massive bag. £5, whatever it was. A massive bag.
Yeah, out of his redundancy money. Out of his severance pay. Because when he first wants 20 pills, he has to pay £1.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a lot of money, 30.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even talk about the fucking drug dealer one. How he goes to the drug dealer to get the bag from Brighton. And they get him and it's like, oh, it's
paraffin.
It's not blues or whatever.
Yeah.
I like how they kept it simple.
Do you understand all that? Do you understand what that was all about? The drugs part of it all.
Well, I didn't if there's, I thought it was just drugs. If there's something about the drugs, but like I imagine it's just drugs.
So
Was it a metaphor for other drugs, or was
no. So what it was?
like PTSD drugs?
Do you understand why they went to the chemist?
Yeah, to get drugs.
Yeah, but what?
To steal.
Yeah,
and yeah, to steal that certain type of drugs.
Blues were. It's basically amphetamine.
Right.
That's what it was. But back in the 60s, the reason why a chemist would have almost pure amphetamine was because it was a slimming drug.
Okay.
So if you take amphetamine, you don't have an appetite.
Yeah, so like a weight loss.
Therefore, you lose weight. But the downsides of it are you don't sleep and all the other bits. But then we're talking the 60s where there was no downsides. You want to lose. So there was no. They didn't do that kind of research into it. So the mods went, well, if I take,
I want to party.
I can party. Yeah, I don't eat.
Harder, longer, stronger, faster.
Yeah, I ride my scooter. Or I can ride my scooter. That's why when you see them all night just riding their scooters around, and like we don't need to go to bed.
Yeah,
because we're not tired. Because we're all pilled up. So that was the.
So that makes again. That's another puzzle piece. I knew that was drugs, but I didn't know.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's just amphetamines, and then he's banging them down him. And he's taking he takes them for breakfast. He takes them, which is also going to fry his little brain and sends him. Especially again, with you dealing with someone who potentially had schizophrenia or had some bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he was a child today, it would be ADHD because they've all got it.
100%.
And then he's just amplified this by taking loads and loads of amphetamine constantly. And then he's sick all week, but he's on the pills again at night so he can ride his scooter around because he's throwing up at work.
Yep. So this is this sort of leads on to my next ones. So when he gets home from Brighton.
Yes.
I said, hard to be sympathetic to his home life because he is a proper little C word and the way his mum blows up at him is well within reason. So he's taken lots of drugs.
Yes.
He is parts of riots. He is a little shit, to be honest. So when he gets home and his mum's, rightly so, calling him out on his behaviour, I'm like, I don't know whether the movie's trying to frame these parents as being like too harsh or
no. I think they were all like that.
But I'm like, I get it.
Well, they're the war generation.
Exactly. And then, like, so the grandkids or whatever are reaping the rewards of the older.
Not even grandkids, really. They're like because his.
Yeah, you're right. 100%. But yeah,
war finished in 45. This is based in the middle of the 60s.
Yeah.
So his mum and dad would have been.
He's 18 years old.
His mum and dad would have probably been around 20 when the war.
Yeah. Fuck. That's even better.
So they had nothing. And then they've got this horrible little...
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to be... I don't know whether the movie wanted us to be sympathetic or whether it was trying to frame these parents as being too over...
No, not at all, because they're all the same. Yeah. All the parents were the same. Because if you go back to earlier in the film, one of the... when they were in the toilet just before they go to the party at Kitchener Road, he said, my dad's kept me in all week.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah, it's like my dad's kept me in all week because he found something and... he took my scooter off me, or he did this, or he did that.
Yeah. Again, it's just, I was like, I get it. Like, if that was my kid, I'd be clipping him by the ears as well. You know what I mean? Can't say that now. Get arrested.